All right, we're on the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, and I thought I'd do something a little special this year. I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, and check in on the electronic superhighway. Now, the electronic superhighway is a video art setup display of the United States of America, all 50 states, and then it's made by Nam June Paik, who is an very famous, talented artist whose medium was pretty much video art. And specifically, he used a lot of CRTs in his setup. So this originally debuted in his art studio in 1995. And like I said, it's an entire map of the United States. It includes even Alaska and Hawaii. And just some interesting things to point out here. When you look at the setup, you'll notice that Florida and Texas, they're kind of morphed into the floor, and there's a reason behind that. Originally, this was built in Nam June Paik's studio, and when he put it together, his ceilings were only 20 feet tall. So the neon lights that were used to outline Florida and Texas had to be altered and flattened out on the floor, and that's why they've always been like that. And just some more interesting details. Everything is done in true neon. All those lights are neon lights. And then there's each state has CRT video units, different monitors and TVs set up within each state. And there's a video loop playback within each one of those states. And it has something to do with the state. I mean, they're all different and they're all obviously culturally from the 90s or earlier. So you're going to see stuff from 1995 and earlier. Nothing really after that would be possibly in this display. So it is kind of a snapshot on America during the 20th century. So just some interesting things again about this display. It is huge. It is still set up. It was gifted to the Smithsonian, I want to say in the early 2000s, and the deal for them was to come and they had to come and take everything apart and move it to their facility. And so they moved it from New York City to Washington, D.C. And before they even set it up, it took a few years for them to get a spot ready. And you can go see this still right now. And for some reason, it's blanking on me which one of the museums it's at, but you can look it up, and I will actually put that on the screen right here in text since I just can't think of which one it is. But you can still go there. It's completely free to visit. And if you go to the third floor, this has been set up, and it's breathtaking, really. I don't know where else in America you're going to see this many CRTs still set up in one place. There are a total of 336 displays on this video wall. And when you start to look at things, I mean, it's going to amaze you how many of these are still PVMs. I saw JVC-D series TVs. I saw a lot of high-end PVMs in the display. And then I started to look around, and there were smaller displays that I don't know, I had never seen before, but I could kind of tell there was something off with them. They didn't exactly look like a CRT. They were boxy, but I wasn't really sure what they were. I couldn't really get too close to the setup because there was security there and actually warned me to back up a little bit. I wasn't even paying attention. There was a wrapper on the floor on how far I could get. But I did finally find one of these display monitors where the screen had actually tilted back and it was starting to break, and it's an LCD screen. So unfortunately, they are already being forced. Well, they're not being forced. They're just choosing to update with an LCD screen over the original CRT. So there are a number of these screens. I'm not sure exactly how many, but there are a number of these screens that are not CRTs anymore. It's mostly those 8 or 9-inch displays. They're smaller, and again, they look like this. I'll show you to you on the screen, and you can see how it's obviously an LCD as it plays the video, and it's tilted backwards. So that's kind of an inevitability over time of this. It's still an amazing piece. And really, if you get the opportunity and you're in the United States and you happen to be in Washington, D.C., and the museum is open and you love CRTs, then you should definitely go check this out. Nam June Paik was an amazing artist who always thought very like, I mean, if you love CRTs and you've never heard or seen any of his art displays, you're about to be blown away. Just look it up. I'm not going to show you a lot of stuff. Everything I took and videos and pictures I'm showing you is stuff I shot at my day at the museum. There were a couple of other of his display setups. One of my favorite things that he set up was a TV that had a vertical line on it, and it's literally vertical collapse. And the story was when this was originally being used for an art display that was set up, I think, in the 1960s. The TV showed up broken, and it wasn't part of the original plan to have just a vertical line on the TV, but um, he wound up using it as an art display and it became famous. So he was famous for this vertical line collapse on a TV, and they still have that set up right next to the interstellar superhighway, or sorry, electronic superhighway. I don't know why I want to call it interstellar. Anyway, it's a great piece. Another cool thing was all this was being run from a cabinet, like a big metal cabinet over in the corner, and it looked like miles of cables were going into this cabinet, and you just saw data lights going crazy from inside of it. I'm sure at this point a lot of this stuff has been converted over to media files playing, but it used to be originally back in 1995 and up to 2000 it was all DVD players. I think something like 50 DVD players, one for each state, was hooked up. And could you imagine that, having one DVD player hooked up for each one of these states, and then having the DVD made and having the custom DVD play on each state? And so it was really a massive undertaking that's been kind of updated. And thankfully, like I said, there's still a vast majority of the CRTs in this display. I'm betting less than 10% has been replaced at this point. So that doesn't give you a whole lot of time, probably. I mean, these things could go bad if they're just, if their goal is to just replace them with a more modern display as it goes on. So if you were thinking about seeing this, definitely do that. Now, for Nam June Paik exhibits, while this is probably the most amazing piece of his art still up set up in America, there is one piece that I would really love to see that's not in America. It's in his home country of Korea and South Korea, and there is a exhibit called "The More the Better." And I would rather not spoil it for you. If you want to go check that out, you can go look at it. But ultimately, my dream is to one day go check this entire display setup, because this was like his magnus opus, his most amazing video wall I thought I'd ever seen. It has over 1,000 displays on it. Now it's interesting because you can read a lot about how, again, modernization is happening to a lot of these video walls and things. And as that happens, I can only imagine how many of these units are being just replaced with more modern displays just because it's easier to work around. And while that's disappointing, I do understand that having, 1,000 CRTs serviced every 5 years is a crazy thing to even think about. And but I don't know, how much does that affect the way the art impacts you or me? I'm not really sure. I know that for me personally, I love the fact that CRTs are still used in this way, or that they were originally used in this way, and that we've been able to preserve this art for what's going on 30 years. And I just really enjoyed my visit to the museum. There were a couple other CRTs in the museum that I found. There were like Sony PVMs, and there was a 2530 that I found, which is a 25-inch box CRT. I also found some Dotronics CRTs, which is another boxy style CRT with just some video art on it. So it's always fun for me to go in and go to an art museum and see what's going on with the CRTs they still have. I have done work with museums in the past. I've never done anything with the Smithsonian, surprisingly, even though it's only a couple hours from my shop. But I hope that they can, you know, keep this display going and enjoyed for future generations to be inspired by all kinds of things that they see in this. So anyway, that's my day. That's my check-in and update on the electronic superhighway. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a like. I'll see you guys next time with some more retro content.